Everyone, welcome to my channel, the Nui channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing and reacting to season 3 of The Walking Dead. It looks like there's been a bit of a time jump when the season starts because Lori is heavily pregnant and Rick says the baby could be due any day now. It's a normal time jump, not a Stranger Things time jump, so Carl still looks the same, except his hair is grown out and he's killing walkers like a pro. So the group goes to this abandoned house to scavenge, but it's bleak, and the only thing they find is dog food. Everyone looks defeated, and it looks like the vet lost a lot of weight as well. When the walkers arrive, they pack up again and move out. Rick is still the leader, and he takes the group to this prison, which seems safe. So they kill the walkers in the cell blocks, and there's food and medication, so it looks like a good option. Lori is scared though that she might miscarry. So after Rick's revelation at the end of season 2 that they all carried the infection and will turn into walkers after they die, if she miscarries, we might have a Renesmee situation on our hands. As for Carol, how old is she? The hair is misleading. She's doing double duty, shooting walkers and learning from the vet how to deliver the baby when the time comes, which may come in handy since the doctor gets bitten and Rick cuts off his leg, so he may still die from bleeding out. And the episode ends when they find a group of human prisoners. In episode 2, we see more of the prisoners. These guys were locked in the cafeteria, so they need to be told everything that's going on and how to kill the walkers. One of the guys gets scratched, so his own members start slaughtering him. The camera cuts to Daryl and he has this face, like he's trying to be neutral and silent but observing how ruthless this guy is at the same time. At one point, the prison group leader throws a walker at Rick hoping to kill him, but Daryl saves him, and after that he tries to pretend everything happened in the heat of battle, but I guess he didn't get the memo that Rick's the captain now and he kills him with no hesitation. There's not going to be a Shane 2.0 happening, just by the way. And the episode ends with the vet opening his eyes, so I guess we now have a way to combat walker bites. And that's kind of interesting as well. So, remember Andrea and the lady in the hood from season 2? Well, episode 3 is dedicated to her and her new group. It's a huge group, and it's more like a town, I guess. They are trying to rebuild civilization and live normal lives as far as possible. So they are sectioned off from the walkers by these huge walls, and everyone has a strict curfew. It just seems too sunny and bright over there. But of course there's a dark side as well. Their leader is called Governor, and he kills and takes weapons from this military group at the end of the episode, then lies to the community and says he found them dead. He also keeps heads in fish tanks in his house. No idea what that's about. Oh, and I also forgot Merle, who is Daryl's racist brother. Well, he's still alive and he's with this group. So for now, it looks like he's submitting to the governor's leadership, but who knows how long that will last. And I'm going to start discussing episode 4 with this picture. You probably know the episode based on this. Weirdly enough, I've seen this picture before and I thought it's a man making fun of a boy. Even when I started watching The Walking Dead, it didn't click to me that I've seen these people before. Okay, let's get into it. So one of the prisoners cuts open the chain and lets in the walkers. The group all separate with T-Dog sacrificing himself to save Carol. And then you have Maggie, Carl, and Lori together when she goes into labor. So Maggie cuts the baby out of her and then she starts bleeding out. And then Carl has to shoot her so that she doesn't turn after she dies. And this episode was really emotional and shocking for me, to do it justice. The prisoner that opens the gate died too easily in my opinion. And I'm saying all this even though I didn't really like Lori. It was just too sad and pointless. But I think she was a great actress when she was talking to Carl. Yeah. So Andrea seems strong, but to me she's very easily manipulated. First with Shane, and then this cult leader guy. Anyway, she decides to stay, but Michonne leaves, which is a shame. And this lady is really good with a sword, and I wanted to see more of her. I found this plotline with Merle and Andrea boring in episode 5. If it picks up later, don't hold me to my words here though. Rick is a mess. The others have to take care of the baby while he goes up killing walkers. At the end of the episode though, he gets a phone call, but in episode 6 it turns out Rick was imagining the phone call. They got my hopes up for nothing, but Rick is finally able to go back to the group and he sees the baby, so there's some progress with him. And Michonne is still on the show though, and she's playing from Merle when she sees Glenn and Maggie on a supply run. And this is our only happy couple in the show, so of course they ruin it by Merle showing up and kidnapping them. He wants info on where to find his brother and Rick, because he's still mad they left him on the roof. At least they tried to go back for him, unlike Andrea. But Michonne has good interests, and she chooses to take the supplies they picked up back to the prison, and that's how the episode ends. I'm so happy episode 7 has Michonne trusting Rick's group because she helps them sneak into the town to rescue Glenn and Maggie. They are both being tortured, and it's absolutely brutal and terrible for Maggie in particular. And I don't like that the show went there, if you know what I mean. In episode 8, Maggie explains the thing we were dreading did not happen, but from the on-screen moments we did see, it was bad enough. At the prison, we see more examples of how mature Carl has gotten when they hear a noise and he goes off alone to check, and he rescues this other group. So Rick manages to rescue Glenn and Maggie, but Daryl got left behind. Michonne separates from them to go find the governor, but while waiting at his house, she finds the heads he's keeping in tanks, and she also kills his walker daughter that he was keeping chained up. And then when he gets there, they fight, and she ends up stabbing him in the eye. She almost kills him, but then Miss Pickney, aka Andrea, shows up. And since the governor is still angry that Merle lied that he killed Michonne, he sets up one of these extreme fights between Merle and Daryl at the end of the episode. But then in episode 9, the group saves Daryl and Merle, but since he's a jerk and unapologetic about everything, they refuse to take him with them to the prison, so Daryl leaves with his brother. And is there something going on with Daryl and Carol? Or is it like mother-son vibes? Because I could see the storyline going either directions at this point, and their friendship. But anyways, Rick is getting a bit crazy again. First, there was the phone calls he imagined. Then he thought he saw Shane looking like Wolverine in the town, and now he hallucinates Laurie. But this time the group sees him losing it, and that's how the episode ends. For me, I would like a show like this to explore someone recovering instead of descending deeper. Well, we're halfway through the season, so anything might still happen. But Rick is still hallucinating, and now in episode 10 he's wandering around outside the prison because he thought he saw Laurie. So Rick is not there, Daryl is not there. Even Shane and Dale would have helped, but with no one else around, Glenn is in charge. And he's still angry and out for revenge after everything that happened with Maggie when they were captured. There's only one member of the prison group from episode 1, and I thought they were setting him up to be a creep. First he tried his luck with Beth, who was underage, and then he set his sights on Carol. The two were smiling, talking about his brother, when all of a sudden he's shot in the head. And it came out of nowhere, and no one was prepared for this attack. Luckily, Merle and Daryl show up to help after the governor sends through a van of walkers into the prison. And up to this point, our group was the group, but they met stragglers here and there, and even the Beth's group on the farm, but they were always the big guys with the cops training them on firearms, strategy, and all of that. Also, the closest we've come to a bad guy so far was Shane, but even he was only misguided, I think. The governor was totally evil, and I think this might be the first time the group may be in real trouble with a more powerful group. Anyways, in episode 11, the mood is bleak again. The prison was supposed to be their home, but now the enemy knows exactly where to find them. So half of them think they should stay, and half of them think they should go. Rick is ready to walk away and disassociate again, but then the vet starts shouting at him and tells him to keep it together as their leader. Andrea comes to the prison and she's shocked they don't treat her the way they used to. So she's here to convince them to negotiate with the governor, and she stresses how outnumbered they'll be in a fight. But the group wasn't the one that started the problem, and I think they may have gotten through to Andrea. Carol is still nice to her because she saved her at the farm. She introduces her to Laurie's baby and updates Andrea on how each person from the group died. I started thinking about the group's deaths, and so far we have Amy, Ed, and Jim from season 1, Sophia, Dale, and Shane from season 2, and now Laurie and T-Dog from season 3. Should we include Otis and his wife as well? I'm not sure. But back to the episode, Carol tells Andrea she can end this fight by killing the governor in his sleep. Andrea goes back to the town and she almost does it, but then she stops herself. In episode 12, we get Rick, Carl, and Maishan going to Rick's hometown for guns, and then we get to see Morgan again, who's a bit of a mess. His wife killed his son Dwayne, so he killed his wife. So now it looks like he's the only one in the town. It's kind of interesting to compare their sons, actually. So Dwayne hesitated to shoot his mother and ended up being turned by her. But Carl killed his mother so that she doesn't turn to begin with. At one point, Morgan tells Rick that him and Carl will die, because in this world, the good people and the bad people all die, and it's only the weak people like Morgan that's left to inherit the earth. And that's very ominous, considering the whole episode was spent with them, so who knows what's happening in the prison. And then Rick tries to get Morgan to go with him, but he refuses. We also get a teeny tiny glimpse of Carl being a child when him and Maishan get a picture of the Grimes family from a diner, so that the baby will know what her mother looked like. So then we get to episode 13, where Rick and the governor have a meeting to negotiate a peaceful resolution. Andrea was the one to organize this meeting, so I guess she thought she'll take control of the negotiations. But then they kick her out, and I found it very satisfying. To me, she's a side character flip-flopping and thinking she's the main character. I don't like her much this season, obviously. The governor says he'll leave them in peace if they give him Maishan. Rick goes back and tells the group that the governor wants to kill them all and take the prisoner. So that's in order to make them scared and realize how heavy the stakes are when he eventually gives up Maishan. And Rick is kind of being naive, thinking the governor will keep his word, because when he goes back to the town, he actually starts preparing his troops for a war. He plans to kill everyone except for Maishan, who he wants alive to torture. And episode 14 is completely about the governor's group. He's setting up a torture chamber for Maishan, and Milton shows this to Andrea, who runs away to warn Rick's group. Tyrese sees that they're planning to unleash walkers on Rick's group, and he's not on board. It's kind of interesting how the walkers were the enemies in season 1 and 2, but all through season 3 we see the various ways they're being used as weapons. From Maishan keeping them on a leash to disguise her scent, to the guards unleashing the walkers in the prison, and now we have this. And the prison is also surrounded by walkers, which I guess they could act as guard dogs. But back to the show. Andrea is really close to the prison, and I think Rick spots her, but then she gets captured by the governor, and Rick has been seeing things all season, so maybe he thought he was hallucinating again. And the episode ends with Andrea in the torture chamber that was supposed to be for Michonne. In episode 15, we have absolute chaos. First things first, this episode is the cleanest Daryl has ever looked. Even on the farm when they had clean water, he always looked dirty and grimy, but now he's clean all of a sudden. I don't understand the hair though, it looks really bad. Rick tells Daryl, Herschel and Merle his plan to give up Michonne to the governor, and everybody tells him it's a bad idea, but they go along with the plan anyways. And when Rick finally changes his mind, it's too late because Merle already took Michonne and they're on their way to the governor. But maybe Michonne has some insane plot armor because Merle actually changes his mind and lets her go. He brings walkers to attack and distract the governor's men, and he starts shooting them, but unfortunately he gets killed by the governor. And the episode ends with Merle as a walker, and Daryl is the one who takes him down. So to me this was Merle's redemption arc. What do you think? Is he forgiven for everything else? Rick also tells the group what he did and how he changed his mind. So now everyone can vote on what they want to do, and he's not going to keep secrets from them. Let's see how long that lasts. Episode 16 is the last episode of season 3, and they go out with a bang. The governor kills Milton in front of Andrea. Then he locks them in together so that when he turns, he's going to feed on her. And he takes his army and invades the prison. Our group was expecting it, so everything is booby-trapped, and they even put on the guards' riot gear. So the governor's group retreats, but he gets angry and guns everyone down. Guns his own people down, I mean. And one of the members retreating is this youngish boy that just comes across Carl, who kills him anyways. And Herschel and Rick were concerned because it looks like Carl turned merciless and unapologetic somewhere along the way. When Rick tries to lecture him, he just points out all the times deaths could have been avoided if Rick acted earlier. I feel like this version of Carl is exactly Laurie's fears from season 2 coming true. Andrea gets bitten by Milton and she finally ends her life, which she wanted to do since being at the CDC in season 1. But it's sad because after that, she really did change her mind. And now just before her final act, she tells Rick that she tried really hard, which is true. At the end of the episode, Rick takes the people left in the town back to the prison, and I'm not too excited about this move, to be honest. These are the people the governor decided not to take to battle, the very young, weak, and frail elderly people. So they're not going to be able to help protect the group, and it also means more mouths to feed. But we're going to have to see how it goes in season 4. In general, it was a much darker season, and all the characters left are so different from the previous seasons. It's still interesting, but I'm dreading where the show is going next, and what new level of depravity we're going to see. Also, the walkers' heads get smashed in so easily. What's up with that? Is it like a rotten fruit situation or what? Anyways, thanks for watching. I didn't expect to be making a video again so soon, but I'm watching the show with someone else and trying to match their pace so I don't hear spoilers from them. And if you made it this far, please like the video, comment and subscribe. Bye.